How's it going, everybody? My name is Antonio, and today I have something special on the barbecue. Not only because for once we don't have to look at a CEO's face for an hour, but also because we are talking to two ladies, specifically Courtney and Tiffany, who are the project manager and cam geologists for Baselode Energy. And the idea here today is sort of to have just a regular talk about exploration camps in general, Baselode's camp specifically as well, and just hear their thoughts about working with James and so on and so forth. So this is going to be a fun episode. I do need you to understand, though, that I too work for Baselode. So anything that you see or hear in here should be taken with a grain of salt or a bucket of salt or a dump truck full of salt. And you should also understand that the mineral exploration sector is an extremely risky sector to employ capital in. And most people will lose money in it, because failure is the norm here, and you should just never bet the farm on one thing and one thing only. That's one thing that I can say. But given that this is going to be just a talk again, one that's general and impersonal in nature, and one that will not take anybody's personal situation in mind, it would behoove you to do more research and maybe talk to a professional investment advisor before taking any decisions. That all said, ladies, thank you for being here today.
Yeah, we're happy to be a part of it.
Thank you for having us, Antonio.
Pleasure is all mine. It's the first time I'm doing, sort of a digital walkthrough a camp, or any sort of a walkthrough of a camp. I might have to get myself up there eventually, but let's start at a different place though. Let's talk about James. I know he's gonna like it. No, I'm kidding. He's probably not gonna watch this, but how is it? Like, be honest. How is it working with him? Is it good? Do you like it?
Yeah, I love working with James. He's very passionate. He's always very supportive. We just wish he could be in the field more often with us.
Yeah, he's got a wealth of knowledge.
Is it? You make a good point, maybe, because I've been wondering that myself, and there's also there's a little bit of a concern raised by some people in the online community that he works for Metal Energy as well as Baselode, so he's got two jobs basically, and he also enjoys being in the field. But how is he as sort of a boss slash geologist, because he's both, right? And is he very hands-on? How often does he visit? How often do you talk to him, and so on and so forth? Like, how much time does he really put in this?
James is incredibly hands-on. Any questions we have, any messages, any photos, any exciting things we're seeing, we're always sharing it with him, and he's always really fast to reply, give us insight from the pictures or whatever. He'll tell us exactly what he's seeing, what it means for a system, what it means for ACKIO as a whole, and then it just really helps it's always exciting news. He's always very passionate and positive thinking about it, so it's really good for us in the field to see it, and then it just drives us as well, and it's always that knowledge that we need.
Yeah, we talk to him daily.
Okay, so daily, it's like a daily meal, in an office job almost.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I would say he comes to the field every couple months. Yeah, he was definitely here a few times last year, and we're looking forward to having him come up this year.
How often do you guys stay there? Are you there full time? Is this like a forever thing?
We are here on 2 and 2 rotations. So This is Tiffany and I normally are not in camp at the same time. Mm-hmm. So I'm leaving today. I was here for 2 weeks. Tiffany's in for 2 or 3 weeks, and then I'll be back in 2 weeks. Okay. And it's just like that for the whole season. Yeah.
Okay. Is that a normal thing? Or is this the first camp that you've worked on, or have you worked on camps before?
No, that's pretty normal. We lots of other camps, depending on where you are, how remote you are, they'll do 4-week rotations. We've done a 2-week rotation because both James and Cameron are really passionate about having a work-life balance and getting the breaks that we need. So we've done a 2 and 2 rotation just to make sure that we're maintaining that home life, so that we can get in some office work on our days off, and then and still have that build. Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. Okay. Interesting. How is it? How's camp life? If you had to explain it to sort of a desk potato like myself, what's a day in the life? I guess what does that look like?
I think the best way to explain it is it's like a big adventure, camping. Yeah, it's awesome.
But with like glamping, because we have laundry machines, we have a
showers,
kitchen, showers, warm water, hot water. We have everything we need. Lots of great snacks.
Great teammates. It's like a family.
Yeah. It's yeah, you're camping with 30 of your good friends.
Oh, is it? So yeah, that's also something I wanted to ask. How many people is there at a time? Is it 30 people at a time, which means that you're what, a team of 60 total because you do 2-week rotations, or how does that work?
No, right now we currently have 18 people in camp.
Yeah.
Okay,
Last year we ramped down a little bit this year, and we're at 18 people. But then, like you said, we have more people on staff who will be on days off, and then they rotate in.
All right. So how does it like how does your work look like? What's sort of a day in the life? Maybe we can start with each one of you telling me what a day in the life looks like.
So a day in the life, we usually wake up around 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning. We go to the kitchen tent, and our lovely chef Karine has breakfast ready for us. So we do our morning meeting, and we meet with the foreman and the pilot and the camp man, and we just get a layout of the day just so everyone's organized and we all are on the same page. We eat breakfast, go do personal hygiene, brush our teeth. We'll meet in the office or the core shack, and we'll talk with the geo team. We usually receive core around 7:30. So we unload the core, carry it into the core shack, and then from there we just make sure everything looks good. We log it, tech it, and then it's sent to get sampled. But that's kind of like that's basically a morning.
And then go for lunch, and then just come back and we just continue teching, logging, and then we set out samples. Then all the core gets carried into the cut shack. We have designated cutters here on site. They'll cut the core, put it in the sample bags. When we prep the sample shipments, they'll take the core boxes out to the yard and they stack it out there. And it's pretty much a repeat every day, except for some days we will have to go to probe. So when we reach the bottom of the hole, we send out a logger or a geo to go probe the hole, and it's essentially just it's a gamma probe that reads the radioactivity, just so we know exactly where it is, and then we cement off the hole, and then they come back. We'll do lineups some days. Some people are out on foot staking new pads, approving, making sure all the environmental procedures are being followed out at site.
Safety procedures.
Yeah. And we'll do lineups at the start of every single hole. So a geo will go out with the compass, line up the drill, just have a talk with them, look at the core, just see how things are going out there, see the new pads being built and the old ones are cleaned again, and then come back and keep logging, keep teching. And then Tiff and I, we bounce in and out of the office throughout the day, but we do most of our office work in the night after all the core has kind of been pushed out.
Yeah. And then have supper, go to bed, repeat.
And that's like 7 out of 7 days. Like you waking up at 5. I mean, 2 weeks you're on camp. Every day is 5 o'clock in the morning, and then you go to bed.
Yeah. We normally turn the office light around 11:30 at night, and then up at 5:30, 6 o'clock, and then start again.
Okay, so it's early mornings, not a lot of sleep.
Yeah.
And we'll get calls for lineups in the middle of the night. We with this program being an infill program, we're trying to make sure we're hitting targets this year. So lineups are really important where that drill hole is going to be going. So the drill will call it in the middle of the night, and we do a little bit of modeling, and we look and we make sure that hole is going to hit our target, and then we go back to bed.
And occasionally a geologist will have to sleep out there too.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So, but that's what I was gonna ask. How do the drillers know where to drill? Because they're just contractors, right? They're just operating the drill. And you're deciding where they have to drill, right?
Yeah, so we'll give them a plan, azimuth and dip for each drill hole. They'll line up the drill to the azimuth, set the tower to the dip, and then they start drilling. So as they drill, we use something called a gyro, which essentially they'll put it down hole, they'll calibrate it, and it reads exactly where you are along your azimuth and your dip, and then they do that every 30 meters on the way in, and then we do a nice multi-shot on the way out and make sure that we follow the trajectory that we want to follow. So when they do that first shot, we make sure that it's going to hit the target as we want. So we can plot it up in software and make sure that plan trace is going to go where we need it to go to hit that target.
So you use software for that. That's also probably where you're consulting James on, right?
Yeah, James and Cameron. We have another gentleman named Omer in the office who are really helpful with modeling as well. But we have the software here in the field as well, so we can do it real time.
Okay, nice. And so how long does it take actually to drill one of those holes? Because they can be deep, right?
Right now our holes are about 200 meters. So it actually only takes about 3 full shifts.
Day and a
So
half.
it's a day and a half.
Oh wow, a day and a half. Actually, that's longer than I expected. I thought it would be like about 100 meters per, about 200 meters per shift is what I expected it to be.
It's normally works out. Casing usually takes a little bit of time, which is at the start of the hole. And then normally they drill anywhere from 60 to 90 meters in a shift.
Is this typical? Like again, I asked. I don't think it got through. But is this the first camp you've worked on?
No, myself, I've done a lot of work up in BC before, and a little bit of work up in northern Saskatchewan. And Tiffany's been doing a lot of survey in different, like a survey camp, which is more ground exploration work. And then as well as you were up north in the mines.
No, I just mostly been in northern Saskatchewan in exploration camps.
So how does this camp compare to other camps in terms of, I guess, quality and just the feel of the work?
I think we'd be biased about that. We kind of molded this camp to us ourselves. We had a big part in planning it, and then what goes on day to day. So I think we basically made this camp to what we think people love, and based off the feedback we're getting. And so we've tried to make it so that everyone comes here. They like coming here. When they go back to work or back to their offices or home shops or whatever, they say that they want to come back and send them back, kind of thing. So we have a lot of perks, this job, being right on a lake, 100 meters from it, having, fans in people's tents so they're not dying to heat on a hot day, and a great cook as well. The cook goes a long ways for everybody wanting to come back. So I think that it's a great camp. But again, we're biased because
we helped make it. Yeah. We love it.
Put a lot of love into this camp.
Yeah.
I want to sort of do an overview of the camp too, and let me maybe pull up the footage of the camp, sort of share my screen, and you can walk me through what we're looking at. I'm gonna share a picture first off the camp. It's an aerial picture because it's also a helicopter supported exploration program that you have going on there. That's not always the case. James has talked to me about that before. It's basically because you want to preserve as much as possible. Canada also wants you to preserve as much as possible of the environment around it. So if you don't, like, if this were never to become a mine, which obviously would not be the assumption here, but if it were never to become a mine, you don't want to have roads and stuff like that all over the place. So what am I looking at here? Let's maybe start the top left corner. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, good. So those are the tents. I assume you're in one of those tents now?
No, we're actually to the right. Those are our sleeper tents.
Oh, those are the sleeper tents. And then this big one?
That would be the kitchen dry tent. So where you see those steps, that's the kitchen. And the backside there is the dry. So that's the showers, the sinks, the laundry machines, and everything. Yeah. And then when you come forward to the right, that would be the kitchen on the right side there.
Okay. So showers, how does that, it might be an uncomfortable topic, but how does that work? Like, is it on a schedule? Because you're 18 of you there. This doesn't look too big.
There's 3 showers in there. And so everyone kind of finds their own schedule. The drillers always shower when they come in from their shift. So there's some people that shower in the morning and some people that shower in the evening. I know the cooks and people who work throughout the day at camp, they sometimes like to shower at lunchtime or throughout the day. And the geos, we're usually pretty busy throughout the day. So we usually kind of take the nighttime shift. But there is 3 showers. So there's lots of space for everyone. Okay.
So it works out. What's the little tent here? Is that a sleeper tent too?
No, that's our driller dry. So essentially that's just a place for the drill crews to come back off a shift, hang up all their dirty clothes, have a place to have it dry out. It's just you can't put that stuff in your cabin because it's radioactive or it's just covered in grease, and they have a lot of thick, bulky clothes. So it's just a place for them to store their clothes and have it be dry for them the next day.
Dry out wet boots.
So this is the place you go if you want to smell something nice. Got it. Okay, those are the sleeper tents. Those 3 here.
Yes.
Then these tents. Wait, so they're also, you have basically 3 sizes of tents. You have these smaller ones. This is the big one with the kitchen and everything, utensils. And then these 2 bigger ones. You're in one of those right now?
We're actually in a tent on the pad, just at the top of your screen there. That blue pad is actually it's a canvas wall tent, and we're in there. We take it down. This photo would have been taken at the very end of the season when we were closing down camp. So we tore down these tents, but it's back up for season. Same with the pad to the far left corner. That is our medical tent, which currently is up, but it was torn down at the end of the season. But the large weather havens you were looking at before, those are our core shacks. So we have a hot shack and a cold shack. When core is coming in, we separate it out, and we have different procedures for safety for the hot shack. So it gets put in there, same with cutting as well. The small shack in front of it is the hot cut shack, and then the cold cut shack. So everything gets split between radioactive and non-radioactive.
Oh, that's what the cold and hot means, because that's what I was going to ask.
Yeah, sorry.
So like for a little bit of more detailed perspective, our core drops just south of, or like down of where these tents are, just by these trees. And then we'll send the core, and then we carry it to the core shacks. And then in the core shack is where we tech and log it, and then it goes into the smaller tent right across from it.
Okay. So is that the bulk of your work, working on core?
Yeah,
that's our goal.
Yeah, that's
if you're drilling right
in, that's where we are.
Yeah, our goal is to move core, so it comes from the drill, and then it gets delivered to camp where we work on it, and then it gets sampled, and then it gets moved out to the core yard.
You know what's also interesting to me is like when companies do, because there's currently, you're doing a 10,000 meter drill program. That's what Baselode is doing right now. That's a lot of meters. Where does all that stone? It's 10 kilometers of stone. Like if you lay it across each other, it's a long distance. So where do all these meters fit? Like, does somebody come and pick it up? How does that work?
I think about 150 meters away from camp. It's a little side-by-side trail we have out, and we have something called the core yard, or we call it core land, and there is currently about 95,000 meters out there right now, or 95 holes. So 30,000 meters ish about of core out there. And they're all stacked in nice neat lines, labeled and everything. So it'll stay there pretty much forever until someone comes and buys it, hopefully, and then it gets moved off, or it stays.
Okay.
We sent you a photo, Antonio. I don't know if you
Yeah, I don't have it up on my screen now because I'm looking for it, but I'm going to have it up on the screen in post-edit of the video so people can see that too, because it is interesting. It's like those white, stacks of things that you have basically packaged. Okay, so what have we've talked about where you sleep, eat, shower, where's the core? What are those little houses here?
That's also where we sleep. So those are our sleeper cabins, we call them.
Okay, so what's the difference between who gets a tent versus a cabin?
So the main difference is just the size. So in the tent, you can sleep up to 4 people inside of them, where in the cabin, you can only sleep 2.
Okay. Do you have like an office or something on here?
Yeah, so where your mouse is right now, and that blue pad, that's actually where the office is. The tent's just torn down right now in that photo. So we're in it right now, but it's torn down in the photo. So it's just a big white wall tent.
Okay, makes sense. What's this over here to the right?
That's our generator shack. So where all of our power comes from.
And so where does is this looks like solar panels from a top, but I don't know if it is.
Yeah, they are solar panels.
Okay, so it's solar panel. Well, knowing capacity factor of solar panels would be like 25%, maybe a little bit more there because you're out in the open. But what is that? You probably have a backup diesel generator, right?
That's right. Yeah. So we have a diesel generator for like the kitchen and the other weather havens that run standard electrical. But we brought in those wall cabins essentially just for their fuel consumption. They're incredibly well insulated. They're very efficient. So in the winter, I can show you actually, like that entire cabin at minus 30 gets heated by a heater this big. This is all it takes to heat that cabin at minus 30. They're so
Wow.
well insulated and efficient. So our fuel consumption in the winter was like negligible for those cabins. Yeah.
That's because I guess the company invested in better cabins then?
Yeah, I would say so. We've gone through a camp building company called Matrix, and they've used those up in the Arctic and everywhere. So we've tried them out, and they were really good. They're a little tight for 2 people. So this year we have the luxury of putting only 1 person per cabin in them, and it's really nice. We actually have mattresses in camp. So when you say what is this, a good camp or a bad camp earlier, this is definitely one of the better camps for that purpose. You're not sleeping on a foamy that 20 other people have sat on for a year and left it this thick.
Having a real mattress is a definite perk.
Yeah.
That's not a normal thing in other camps?
No.
What else is not normal in other camps that you do get in here?
The lakes. Sometimes often you don't have lakes, you have little creeks or things that people pull their water from. So being right on a lake with a fishing boat and everything, it's a nice extracurricular perk that we have here. Able to take the fishing boat out and go for a ride or go fishing, if you please.
I would also say that our layout is kind of abnormal. It's very cozy, but it's been working well for us. We don't mind it at all.
Okay. Let's see what else is happening over here. There's like a big house over here. It's a shack. I call it a house. I don't know why I'm calling it a house. It's a shack. It's a big shack over here. What is it? What's that?
That's our driller shop. So we work with Full Force Drilling, and so anything that they've brought, it goes in there. All of their tools, any welding supplies. It's just a place for them to store their equipment.
Okay, so you don't go here basically.
No, not really.
Okay. What are those things? They look like drums or something.
Jet fuel drums. We in the winter time, when you're running a winter exploration program, you can often get weathered in with the snow and the storms that come through. So we kept on hand a bunch of diesel drums to run the drills and the fuel, the water pumps, just in case anything ever happened and the heli couldn't fly for a couple days. We had those actually staged out at site for them to tap into if needed, if the heli wasn't able to drive and fly and get them fuel from 147.
Okay, but this is not. How long is an exploration season in this part of Saskatchewan?
It's very dependent. 2022 we ran from January till the beginning of August, and then this year we ran from the end of May, and we're expecting September sometime probably is the end of our season. So with a heli supported program like this, you can run year round. There's no stopping. With a skid supported program, you have to stop for what we call break up, which is when the snow is melting and the ground becomes very soft, and then you're basically you're going to destroy the ground. So everyone stops to prevent any damage to the ground. And then they would start up again around May, June, when the ground is the water has been soaked up and it's not, you're not at risk of damaging the ground. But with us being a heli supported program, we have no limitations. If we decide, if something happens and we are able to find another deposit this season or something, we could drill through to December.
Right. This is a helicopter supported exploration program, as I mentioned, but you also have like a seaplane. Well, I guess it's a lake plane in this case. What's that for? Is that an alternative or is that something else?
That was actually the fire crew from L'Orange stopping in last season. We had a forest fire very close to us last year, so they were just stopping in and checking on the camp, thinking about possibly installing some sprinkler systems to save the camp if anything was to get a lot closer to it and pose a risk to us. But we do have float plane access, so if we decide we'd like to start flying groceries in or cruising from L'Orange instead of driving all the way up the 905 and then helicoptering in, it's an option for us.
Okay. I also saw you working on the helicopter once. What was that all about?
We're very close with Mustang Helicopters. They're great contractors to work with. So we spent a lot of time with the pilot and the engineer and their apprentice. And so sometimes we like to go to the helipad and see what they're up to. So Courtney just got a little bit more hands-on a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, we've had them in the core shacks explaining what we do and helping to get them understand why we're here, what we're excited to see, what our daily processes are like, and what it means to us when they're flying core or flying this drill around. And then they've taken the time to show us the helicopter, how it runs, what they do to keep us safe and things like that. So I think it's just us learning each other so we work efficiently.
Right. Well, that's nice. So nice that you
Yeah.
get to do all these things actually. I see that you have like buggies and snowmobiles, and it actually looks kind of fun too.
Yeah, with it being remote, you definitely need to have a mode of transportation out here. And so the side by side, that's how we get out to the core yard and transport core around. And in the winter, we were doing all of our crew changes, and the geos were going around staking pads on snowmobiles. So it's just a way, like it's more cost effective for us to use snowmobiles in the winter than the helicopters. So it's and quick. It's nice to have multiple people be able to be in multiple places at once. So they're just a mode of transportation that makes the whole exploration process a lot easier.
Mm.
So in the winter, we can use snowmobiles because the drill is only 3 kilometers away.
Okay. What's the case now? Because I think now you can have almost two separate drill programs, like 75% of the 10,000 meters going in one spot and 2,500 meters is going into another spot of the current drill program. How far is that from this camp?
Depending on which targets we choose, it could be a few kilometers away for sure. So that in that case, we all are going to be limited to helicopter access only. We haven't been using the trail. We've mitigated using it because we don't want to do any damage to the ground because it is still wet out here. So we don't want to rip up any muskeg or anything like that. So we haven't been using the trail, even though it is a possibility if ever needed, we can get out there, but we haven't been using it anyway. So it's not much is going to change for us right now. But yes, in the future, when we do a little bit more regional work, it's going to be strictly helicopter access.
So do you do any like recreational activities besides, like, do you get mountain bikes on site or like backcountry skiing? Because I can imagine there's a lot of space to do all of that.
Yeah, we don't have extracurricular things like that. We have fishing rods out here and the boat. The lake is definitely something that everyone finds time to do. But as far as going the other way, we don't have anything like that. Some of it comes down to a safety thing as well, with having people go out on the trail by themselves. We are in bear country out here. There are a lot of stumps, a lot of rocks. There's muskeg and everything out there that someone could get hurt in. So we try to keep people as close to camp as possible.
Yeah.
And
we
then
have board games.
Nice.
Other ways. And like internet, you can watch Netflix and do whatever you need here.
Yeah.
So yeah, we try to keep people close to camp as possible as far as like extracurriculars go. But I mean, if someone decides they want to go for a walk, we ask them to take a radio and they can do that.
But have you seen bears?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We
Like
have
on camp?
3 that frequent our camp.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, Courtney would know more about this, but when she started camp, our kitchen tent was absolutely collapsed and a bear had gone through it.
He made a little drive-through window in the kitchen for himself.
Wow. Is that something I remember when I used to go camping, and that's mostly Eastern Europe that I'm talking about. So there's still bears there. Not many bears left. Like I live in Belgium now. So we literally have like one wolf in the country and it's a big deal. So it gets traced all over the place and people watch it and stuff like that. So we don't have bears. But so in Eastern Europe, there's still a lot of bears, and then you had to hang up your food and have it closed, and there's probably stuff that you also have to do to prevent, right?
Yeah, absolutely. In camp as well as at the drill, we ask that nobody leaves any kind of food outside. In camp, you're not allowed to bring food into your tent. All garbages gets incinerated every single night. The kitchen, everything gets tidy, nothing gets left out. It's in the fridge or freezer, it's put away. We try to not have any scents or attractants around. Surfaces get bleached often. And yeah, we do our best to try to have as little enticement for the bear, the animal, wildlife in general, the birds, everything. No feeding is allowed for sure.
And we have all the safety equipment. So we have air horns and bear bangers and bear spray if we need it. So this season we've had to use air horns and bear bangers, but we thankfully haven't had to use bear spray.
What about other animals? Because you're mentioning birds. Is there wolves there and other stuff like that?
We've had some of our drillers say that they've seen them out there. We have a lot of moose out here as well. They frequent through here, a lot of trails, and we'll see them. The helicopter pilot will see it almost every day on his daily runs.
Squirrels.
Yeah, fishers.
Martins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you don't have like a camp pet or something like that.
No, it's a little challenging for anyone to bring an animal in here with the helicopter, and we've stayed away from any kind of domestication of anything out here.
Well, but I read this story about Next Gen. I assume you know the company. They have a discovery on the other side of the basin, ACKIO, huge discovery. But they apparently they work with a dog shelter that's down the road, which is like 200 kilometers from their project, where they take in the dogs or something for the crew to walk around with them. And I think they've experienced some challenges too with that. But I guess that'd be cool though.
That would be cool.
Absolutely. Everyone would love a camp dog.
Yeah. I don't think we have the capacity here right now, but it's definitely a really neat and interesting idea.
Okay. Is there, it's all rose and dandy, right? When you're talking about it, you're sort of looking through it through rose tinted glasses, I guess. And obviously all three of us are biased, but there's probably bad days on camp too, right?
Yeah, we mentioned the collapsed tents. So when Courtney came in, she was problem solving that in May. She can elaborate a little bit more if she wants to.
Yeah, it was just the snow load over the winter. Some of the structures had obviously a larger load on them, and they collapsed. So I think it was about 10 days maybe at the start of the season. We spent bringing in new structures, pulling the ones down, rerunning electrical, getting the camp up and ready before we brought in all of our drill crew. Yeah, it was a hiccup, and we kind of expected maybe some bear action in camp for sure over the winter, which we saw that as well. And but like as far as the season goes, we've had an incredible drill program this year. We've been blessed with some great contractors this season. We're a smaller program. We're only one drill this year in comparison to last year, but we've had some really, really good contractors this year, and it makes a world of the difference. It's having people
support you and help you problem solve.
Exactly. Yeah. And just the experience level as well. We've had people with a lot of experience who are able to take initiative and do what needs to get done as far as around camp, at the drills, anywhere, right? So it's not Tiffany and I necessarily needing to be hands-on with every aspect of the day, and we can go get our heads in the core and look at the core and do more geology instead of just more project managing stuff. So having the contractors we had has made every day a little bit better this season for sure.
That's probably a big challenge for everybody in the industry in terms of labor shortage. Like when I interview CEOs and I ask them, okay, what's an issue, something that sort of keeps you up at night? Most of the times that's what they told me, labor shortages. So what do you have to say to people who want to get in geology, maybe because you're two young ladies? I mean, you chose this path, which is not a popular thing, I guess. I mean, if you think about your high school peers, I don't know how many would have gone into geology, but I don't imagine too many.
Do it. Go into it. It's like Tiff said, every day's an adventure. We get paid to ride in helicopters and to explore, go hiking during the day, see wildlife, and
look at minerals.
It's definitely something I think that a lot of people will never experience things like this in their lifetime, and we do it daily. And I would say do it, try it, feel it out. There's a lot of summer programs out there. You don't have to commit a career to it. You can go into the sciences and try a summer student placement and see if it's for you, and if you like camping for a living and being remote and stuff like that. So I would say try it. And for women, for men, for anyone who's looking at it, we've had a lot of good interaction with some of the crews. Like, for example, we work really, really closely with JP Enterprises out of La Ronge, and we hire them for core cutters. And we had a core cutter who was really interested in what we were doing after he got up here and he saw the camp, and he actually came on as a tech this year, and we trained him, and he's taking on a new role. So I think that having people see, because a lot of people actually don't know what a geologist does, period, or what an exploration geologist does. So having people see it is it'll be a game changer for having people enter the industry.
Yeah.
Good point. I think media helps, as if you have someone on site documenting this, that'd be a very cool thing for me to do. James and I have been discussing it. So yeah, stuff like that would also be very cool. I don't think I have any other questions. Is there something that you came here hoping to talk about, but I'm failing to bring up?
yeah, just camp life can be tough. You know, you're away from home, and if there's extreme weather and problem solving every day. But it's so exciting to be here with a team that you trust in and is respectful and responsible. And, the goal, like we said earlier, is to move core, and we're doing that here, and we're having fun while doing it. So I think that's a blessing.
Yeah.
Nice. It was great talking to you girls. I don't think many companies do these things, but I do think that more companies should also just let the field geologists, get in front of the camera. Oftentimes, and I've asked many companies, but they just want to get the CEO in front of the camera, say the story in a very polished sort of corporate speak way instead of just this. It was great. Yeah, thanks a lot for doing this.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, you can talk to us at the end of the season and see if we feel the same way.